I used to believe my marriage was the safest harbor in the world. 12 years together, 2 kids, those familiar dinners around the family table. Everything looked stable, peaceful from the outside, but inside me, a storm was quietly building. I remember the day I decided to come home early to surprise my husband with his favorite lasagna, something I hoped would brighten his stressful week. But the moment I stepped in, everything shattered. His voice, cold, cruel, and heart-wrenching, echoed through the phone and froze my heart. "I regret marrying you. You're boring, predictable, and in bed, you're like a dead fish." Those words replay in my mind like a knife twisting in my chest. And he wasn't whispering them to me. He was saying them to his mother, someone I once considered family. The sense of betrayal and pain was beyond anything I could put into words. There I stood, frozen, flooded with questions. Why me? Where did I go wrong? Did he ever really love me? That moment, face to face in the home we once called ours, that was the point of no return nobody could undo. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Enjoy the video. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about love, forgiveness, and finding the strength to rise after the deepest wounds. Join me as we navigate the heartbreak, the anger, and ultimately, the hope for a new beginning. From the outside, our marriage looked like one of those stories people envy. 12 years together, 2 beautiful kids, a home filled with routine and comfort. We weren't the couple who fought loudly or lived in chaos. Instead, we had a steady rhythm: work, school runs, family dinners, and occasional date nights that felt more like an obligation than a spark. For years, I told myself stability was enough. I believed that love was about showing up every day, being reliable, and building a life together through the mundane. But beneath that surface, something was quietly crushing me. The silence that stretched between us at night wasn't peaceful. It was a void. I remember sitting across from him during one of our rare dinners alone, trying to start a conversation, only to be met with a distracted nod or a distracted glance at his phone. There was a distance in his eyes, a weight I couldn't name. I tried to ignore it, telling myself maybe it was just work stress or a phase we'd get through. But inside, a creeping loneliness took root. My friends often commented on how stable we seemed, how lucky we were to keep it together through the chaos of parenting and careers. But no one saw the invisible wall growing taller between us. My husband had changed. I felt it in the way he avoided my touch, the tired sighs when I suggested doing something new, the quick exits from conversations where I tried to share my feelings. The man I once felt so close to was now a stranger in our shared home. One night, I caught a glimpse of his frustration, not aimed at me, but bottled up inside him. He muttered to himself about needing something more, something exciting. I wanted to reach him, to understand, but the words never came out loud. I felt trapped in a cage built from unspoken resentments and unmet expectations. My heart ached not because I knew something was wrong, but because I didn't know how to fix it, or even if it was fixable. Deep inside, I wrestled with questions. Had I become the boring, predictable wife he never wanted? Did the routines that comforted me suffocate him instead? Were we 2 people living parallel lives under the same roof, afraid to shatter the facade of our so-called stable marriage? As the days passed, the quiet suffocation turned into a storm waiting to break, one I never imagined would come crashing down during what was supposed to be a joyful season. The holiday lights outside our window mocked the darkness growing between us. And then came the day I found out the truth, a truth that tore apart every illusion I held on to. But before I share that moment, let me introduce you to those closest to us who played their part in this unraveling. The kids who sensed the shift even before words were spoken, and the families whose voices added pressure, blame, and complexity to an already impossible situation. Stay with me as we dive deeper into how a seemingly perfect life can unmask its cracks in the most painful way, a story about love lost, betrayal revealed, and the raw heartbreak that follows. Up next, I'll take you inside that shattering moment when the silence broke and the truth was laid bare. That day started like any other, but somewhere along the way, everything changed in an instant. I had decided to surprise my husband, to bring a little warmth and comfort into what I thought was our shared life. I left work early, full of hope, carrying his favorite lasagna and memories of happier times. When I pulled into the driveway and saw his car, I felt a flutter of excitement. Maybe today would be different. But as soon as I stepped inside, the world tilted on its axis. From just around the corner, I heard his voice, clear, loud, unmistakable, speaking on the phone with his mother. At first, I hesitated, caught between disbelief and the desperate hope I had misheard. But then the words hit me like a slam of a door. I regret marrying her. She's boring, predictable. I feel like I'm living with a roommate. And in bed, she's like a dead fish. His voice was cold, casual even, as if describing a broken appliance, not the woman he promised to love forever. I froze in the hallway, a grocery bag trembling in my hands, every word slicing through me deeper than the last. The man I shared my life with, my joys and struggles, was confessing to his own mother how miserable I was, how miserable he was because of me. Then came the shattering truth, the admission of a woman at work who made him feel alive again. He spoke of emotional connection, of plans to leave me once the holidays passed, of waiting to break the news because he didn't want to cause a scene. All the lies and secrets hidden behind smiles and family dinners spilled out in that one conversation. I felt like I was suffocating with every sentence, drowning in a sea of betrayal. In that moment, I wasn't just a wife. I was the wronged woman, the one discarded for excitement elsewhere. Yet what hurt most was not only what he said, but that he spoke it so openly, so carelessly to his mother, someone who should have been my ally. When he suddenly turned the corner and saw me standing there, the shock on his face matched the chaos inside me. We locked eyes in stunned silence. I couldn't hold back anymore. "Is that really how you feel about me?" I whispered, the grocery bag slipping from my fingers and crashing to the floor. His fumble for words, the awkward excuses. I was just venting. It's not what you think. Did nothing to ease the storm raging inside me. The safe world I thought I knew shattered instantly, revealing a raw wound that refused to heal. As the truth spilled out, our conversation spiraled into blame and defensiveness, a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and desperate attempts to justify what was unjustifiable. I confronted him on how he could trash me behind my back, how he planned to live a double life through the holidays, asking for patience while he prepared to leave. Just then, our son, Ben, walked through the door, a bright smile on his face, oblivious to the emotional tempest raging mere feet away. His innocent presence cut through the tension like a knife, forcing us into silence. The facade had to be maintained for him. I swallowed down my tears and fury, trying to play the role of normal mother and wife for the sake of the kids. Meanwhile, inside, I was breaking apart. The weight of betrayal settled heavy on my chest, each breath a reminder that the man I trusted most had turned away. Behind that door, the night ahead promised no peace. The arguments, the painful realizations, the fracturing of what was once a home all loomed ahead. But as I looked at my children, I knew I had to find strength. For them, for myself. Before we move forward, to the moments where survival meant masking agony, where family smiles masked shattered hearts, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Let's share this journey. After that devastating day, the hardest part wasn't the confrontation or even the heartbreak. It was pretending everything was okay for the sake of my children. Ben and Lily, my bright and beautiful kids, deserved a joyful holiday season. But inside me, the world was crumbling. Holding it all together felt like balancing on a razor's edge. Ben, my 8-year-old, was already sharp enough to sense that something was wrong. One morning, as he hesitated with his breakfast, he looked up with those wide, searching eyes and asked, "Mom, is Daddy going to live with us forever?" My heart shattered, but I forced a smile and said, "We're still figuring some things out, but both Daddy and I love you and Lily very much." I wanted to shield him from the truth, at least for now, but I knew the fragile veil was thinning. Lily, just 5 and blissfully unaware, asked innocent questions about why Daddy wasn't around for her drawings and hugs. Her simple request to spend more time with him made me ache inside. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that the man she adores might not be around much longer? I wrapped her tiny hands in mine, whispering promises that felt painfully hollow. During the holidays, the pressure to maintain a picture-perfect family was suffocating. The decorations sparkled with festive cheer, but underneath, every smile felt forced. Conversations at the dinner table were tinged with a quiet tension, and I could see my husband's eyes flicker with guilt and avoidance. He played the part of the happy father for a few hours, but once the children were asleep, the weight of unspoken truths filled the room. The tension wasn't just between us. It seeped into the extended family. His mother called several times, urging me to wait it out for the sake of the kids, dismissing my pain as an overreaction. My own parents, fiercely protective, wanted me to bring the children away to their home, a refuge from the storm. I was torn in two, wanting to shield my kids from uprooting their lives, yet craving any safe space from the emotional battlefield at home. One night, after the kids were asleep, I sat quietly in the living room, staring at the empty chair where he once sat. The walls seemed to close in, a suffocating reminder that the family I fought so hard to hold together was fracturing with every passing day. I wondered how much longer I could keep up this act, this happy family facade that felt like a cruel joke. Each forced smile, every carefully chosen word not to upset the children, chipped away at my soul. The silent battles between hope and despair raged inside me. But somewhere beneath the pain, a seed of resolve was growing. I knew I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for the kids who depended on me. Their world was already shifting. I would be their anchor through the storm. Before we move on, share in the comments how you've handled difficult family moments during holidays. Your stories are a reminder none of us are alone. After the heartbreak and the exhausting effort to hold our family together during the holidays, reality hit me like a freight train. It was time to face the unavoidable: divorce. The decision wasn't sudden, but the moment it became official, my world shifted on its axis. The man I once trusted as my partner was now my opponent in a complicated, fragile legal battlefield. I remember sitting across from my divorce attorney for the first time, my hands trembling as I signed documents I never thought I'd have to read. The room was cold and clinical, a far cry from the warmth of the home we once shared. The weight of what lay ahead pressed down on me. This wasn't just about endings, it was about fighting for my children, my security, my future. It was a battle that stretched beyond the courtroom walls, cutting into the very core of my soul. My husband and I had very different visions of what came next. He pushed for a 50-50 custody split, painting himself as an equal caregiver ready to share every moment with Ben and Lily. But I knew the truth. His demanding job, long hours, and frequent travel left him little time to be the hands-on dad the kids needed. The thought of our children shuttled between homes, relying heavily on nannies or grandparents to fill the gaps, felt like an injustice. Our arguments grew fierce. He accused me of trying to cut him out of their lives, while I accused him of avoiding responsibility, attempting to rewrite a role he had never fully embraced. The lawyers exchanged letters peppered with legalese and thinly veiled accusations, each negotiation a battlefield where every word mattered. My anxiety soared with every phone call, every email. Trust had been shattered, and in its place grew suspicion and guarded defenses. Financial disputes added another layer of strain. Our house, once a symbol of our shared life, became a contentious asset. Selling it felt like admitting defeat, losing the childhood home I wanted to preserve for the kids. We quarreled over savings, retirement accounts, and who would cover which expenses. I felt the cold sting of betrayal again as he questioned what was fair, seemingly forgetting years of joint sacrifices. Through the chaos, my parents became my refuge. Late-night phone calls with my mom offered compassion and strength. My dad's quiet presence reminded me I wasn't alone. Meanwhile, my husband's parents watched from the sidelines, their support complicated by loyalty and their own frustrations. The extended family dramas hovered like dark clouds, adding pressure and blame. Yet, amidst the turmoil, something remarkable happened. I began to feel a surge of clarity and resilience I hadn't known I possessed. Every painful meeting, every harsh word, was forcing me to grow beyond the hurt. To fight not just for survival, but for a future filled with dignity and hope. I understood that divorce was not just an end, but a painful journey toward reclaiming myself and reshaping my family story. The road ahead would be hard, laden with more battles and unexpected moments of grace. Before we move forward, share your experiences about difficult family separations or legal battles in the comments below. Your courage and stories help us heal collectively. The days that followed the legal battles were a storm of emotions I wasn't prepared for. The courtroom wasn't just a place of documents and lawyers. It became a crucible where every hurt, every accusation, every silent tear was forged into a new reality I had to face. But the hardest struggle was not outside. It was inside me, deep within the fractured pieces of my heart and mind. At first, sleep became a stranger. I'd lie awake in the darkness, haunted by memories and what-ifs. The echo of his words, the image of betrayal, and the laughter we once shared now felt distant, almost like a ghost haunting a broken home. I wrestled with waves of grief, the loss of the future I imagined, the loss of trust, the loss of a family whole and undivided. My soul swung between despair and fierce determination. On some nights, the weight of loneliness felt unbearable, a crushing reminder that the person I once loved had become a stranger. On others, small sparks of hope flickered, reminders that pain, as sharp as it is, can be the beginning of something new. My parents became my sanctuary. My mother's gentle voice on the phone, her steady words of reassurance, reminded me I was not alone. My dad, in his quiet, unspoken way, provided stability. His simple presence was a balm to my aching heart. Together, they helped me feel grounded, even when my world felt like it was spinning out of control. And then there were the children, Ben and Lily. Watching them process the upheaval was both heartbreaking and inspiring. Ben, with his newfound worries and questions, needed extra hugs and patient answers even when my heart was breaking. Lily, sensing the tension though too young to understand fully, still radiated innocent joy that reminded me what I was fighting for. Family therapy sessions offered them a safe space to voice fears that otherwise might have been swallowed whole. Seeing their resilience stirred something fierce inside me. A fierce desire to protect them and to heal together. Friends also played an unexpected role. Some distanced themselves awkwardly, unsure how to approach the situation. Others stepped in with unwavering support, late-night calls, and small acts of kindness that reminded me life goes on. Their empathy helped me rebuild faith in people, including myself. Through it all, I gradually began to understand that healing is not linear. There were backward steps into anger and sorrow, moments of self-doubt and guilt. But with every painful reflection came growth, the courage to forgive, not necessarily him, but myself, for trusting too blindly, the ability to let go of anger and open space for peace. I started finding joy in small things again, the quiet mornings with my kids, a walk outside, even the first tentative smiles that came after tears. Slowly, I pieced together fragments of myself into a new whole, not the woman I was before, but a stronger, wiser, more compassionate version. Before we move on, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced a painful separation or profound loss? How did you begin to heal? Please share your stories in the comments below so we can support each other in this journey. After the storm, the heartbreak, the endless tears, the battles fought in court and in our hearts. There came a moment when I realized I had a choice. I could either let the pain consume me or rise from it stronger and more whole. That moment wasn't sudden or dazzling. It was quiet, subtle, like the first soft rays of dawn breaking through a dark night. Moving forward wasn't about forgetting the past, it was about accepting it. Accepting that the man I once loved had become a chapter one needed to close. Accepting that my family story was changing, but not ending. And accepting, most importantly, that I had to find strength within myself, not just for me, but for Ben and Lily. Reclaiming my life was both terrifying and liberating. The early days of solo parenting were chaotic, juggling work deadlines with homework help, managing doctor visits and parent-teacher meetings alone, and learning to be both mom and dad. Some nights, exhaustion pushed me to the edge. But with every challenge, I discovered a resilience I hadn't known I possessed. I became a master of patience, a fierce protector, and a source of comfort for my children who, despite it all, were finding their smiles again. The support of my family remained invaluable. My parents, who had stood by me throughout the darkest days, continued to be a steady foundation. My mother's warm meals, my dad's quiet encouragement, it was like a home base in a world that had suddenly felt unsteady. Friends, some old and some new, helped stitch together my torn confidence. Unexpected moments, a laugh shared over coffee, a phone call just to check in, reminded me that I was not alone. And slowly, I began to think about me, not just as a mother, but as a woman. The years of sacrificing myself for the sake of a marriage and family had left parts of me buried. Now, I was rediscovering passions, reconnecting with friends, and even entertaining the idea of dating again. Vulnerability mingled with hope. I had walls up, yes, but there was also curiosity. Could there be joy and love waiting for me again? Ben and Lily's happiness became the compass guiding this new chapter. I wanted them to see strength in vulnerability, love in new beginnings. We started creating new traditions, not as a broken family, but as one that was evolving and healing. Their laughter filled our home once more, a melody that soothed the scars left behind. Of course, the road ahead wasn't perfect or easy. Some days felt heavy with memories, some nights brought waves of doubt. But with reflection came growth. I learned to forgive, not to excuse betrayal or pain, but to release its grip, so I could breathe freely. The woman I was becoming was shaped by every tear, every fight, every triumph. If you're watching this right now and feeling lost in your own journey, I want you to know there is light beyond the darkness. Healing isn't linear, but it is possible. And rebuilding isn't about starting over. It's about building a new, better version of your life, piece by piece, day by day. Thank you for sharing this story with me. Your courage to listen means more than words can say. If you've faced similar trials or found your own path to healing, please share your story in the comments. Let's continue lifting each other up. This is not the end, but a new beginning, a journey toward peace, strength, and unexpected joy.